Okay.
So, hello, we are about to start. We're here with Diogo. Diogo is just setting up some minor details. In the meanwhile, I'm going to present the webinar and present Diogo. First, I want to thank all that are taking part of this webinar. I'm sure that people are just arriving also, but we already have people from Algeria, Latvia, India, Canada, Poland, United States, Italy, Germany. So welcome to all. As you know, this is a live webinar. The intention is to our speaker to present some of the content of one of our courses. I will show to you more details about the course soon. But at the same time, the idea is for you to interact as much as possible with the speaker. Okay, so don't be shy. You have the chat box, so you can introduce some questions to Diogo. You just introduce it, and I will select some of the questions, or even Diogo will select some of the questions to read. So, building effective small-sided games for soccer is the title, the name of this webinar. We are here with Diogo Coutinho. Diogo Coutinho is finishing, and I believe is about to finish his PhD in sports sciences at the University of Trás-os-Montes El Douro. The PhD is actually about small-sided games, okay? So he has been a soccer coach since 2011, having been assistant coach in professional soccer clubs such as Académica, Varzim, Sport Club. Also, he's frequently invited as a lecturer in several football coaching courses, UEFA B and C, from the Portuguese Football Federation. Currently, he's just started working in a Portuguese professional soccer club called Chaves in the northern of Portugal. So he's just starting. So I would like to thank him to take some time to be with us here today. So as I said, today we'll be talking about small-sided games and how to use them in an efficient way. Diogo will select a part of his online course to discuss with you guys. As you know, Diogo has available a wonderful online course called Designing Small-Sided Games for Soccer. And during this webinar, until the end of today, okay, we'll be offering a 50% discount to our attendees, okay? During this webinar, I will introduce the coupon code that you must use to get that discount, okay? So don't forget that this is a live webinar, so don't forget to ask questions. First, I would like you to please write on the chat box if you can hear me and see me well. And right after that, I'm going to give the voice to Diogo so he can start. So Diogo, thank you once again for being here with us and taking some of your time to be here. The stage is yours, so take it. Okay, Diogo, see you in a bit.
Hi, Ricardo. Thank you for the kind words. As Ricardo said, I will try to speak a little bit about small-sided games. And mainly trying to present you one chapter of the presentation that I had in Soccer Hub. So, and basically to introduce you about what is about this presentation is basically how we can manipulate task constraints to emphasize specific information from the task that may allow the players to achieve what we want as a behavior from them. So basically, and just to introduce, the players decide based on information. And to provide one example to you, imagine a central defender should align his positioning with his teammates, also pay some attention to the movements of the opposing forwards, and even try to pay attention to the position of the ball. So based on this, we are speaking about information, for example, related to distance, related to speed, related to space. This is the type of information that players use to decide where to be on the pitch. And if you want to help them in developing their behavior, it is important to couple their movement behaviors with the information available on the environment. I mean, if we want that our players are able to develop their behaviors, they should understand when and how to develop them during the game. And for that, small-sided games have been widely used in the training process, mainly because it allows to couple the actions with the information and also develop the player's physical, technical, and tactical behaviors. And so one of the chapters that we have in the presentation, it's about spatial reference. So what happened to the player's behavior when we change this type of reference? And we are going to look about it, and we have different types of constraints manipulations in that course, and I hope that you find it interesting. So we are going to start with a study. So basically this study is about trying to understand how the player's behavior is affected by the pitch external reference, like having a full pitch line, a dashed pitch line, and a corner pitch line. In this last condition, it's only visible the pitch corners. So basically it was the players performed a 5-against-5 small-sided game in these 3 pitches, and their performance was analyzed from the physical, technical, and tactical behavior. And based on the results, what we saw is that they perform more technical actions in the full and in the dashed pitch. That is, having the pitch external markings provides the players information about the available space that allows them, for example, to decide if they have or not space to dribble the opposing players. So the type of pitch configuration, in this case, the lines, provides information about the available space, about distance from the defender to the line, that help the players to decide what they should do. Also, we saw from the tactical behavior that they are more synchronized. From this type of variables, what they mean is that if a player is synchronized or a team is synchronized, they have more chances or they have more probabilities of winning. I mean, synchronization is about 2 players moving in the same direction. And usually what the studies have been showing is that the teams that have higher movement synchronization are the best teams. So providing these lines help also the players to understand the pitch and the available space, allowing them to be more coordinated and better synchronized with the teammates. And also from the physical performance, we also have some effects. In fact, the pitch with the corners, the players were more spread out on the pitch. And because of that, they are less synchronized, because usually the players have a better synchronization when they have a higher spatial proximity, okay? And also, if they are more spread out on the pitch in the corners condition, it is like that they increase the distance covered at high intensities, because when they lose the ball, they have to cover a high amount of distance to maintain some balance. So basically what we are seeing here is that the different types of lines provide different type of opportunities for action for the players. In addition, this last condition, the corners pitch lines, the players perform more passes. And this may also be linked with the tactical behavior, because if they are more spread out, comparing, for example, the full pitch lines or the dashed pitch lines, it means that there is more inside space for them to explore the pass, while, for example, in the full pitch lines or even in the dashed pitch lines, where they are more close to each other, there is less space, and so the players may also afford to use the dribble as a solution to find space. So basically, just to show you that a simple constraint, in this case, the type of pitch external marking, how it affects the player's behavior. So every change in the task will emphasize different information that will lead the players to different movement behaviors. So in the second study, our aim, it was not to understand the pitch external markings, but rather the pitch internal markings. So we performed 2 small-sided games, a 6-against-6 plus goalkeeper, where in one of the pitch there was no reference, just the pitch external lines. And in the second condition, we had pitch corridor and sectorial lines, dividing the pitch by 9 zones and nothing else. There was no instruction by the coach. So the only difference between both conditions, it was adding this type of reference. And in general, what we saw, because this is a type of task used by the coaches, is that when we have the lines, this type of lines will emphasize the information related with the space. And what we found, it was that when the lines are added, the players are, firstly, more spread out on the pitch. What we already saw that it is likely to affect their movement coordination on the pitch because they are more spread away. Secondly, the lines also provides information about the distance, and so they were more dispersed on the pitch. They have a higher distance between them, which affected again the movement synchronization, and again, as the last study, increased the distance covered at high intensity, because if they are they have a higher team dispersion, it is likely that when they lose the ball, they have, for example, they have to cover higher distance to compensate some mistakes, for example. In turn, and the condition without lines promoted higher movement synchronization. So while it is some evidence that we are adding this type of lines to provide some reference to the players, helping them to guide their behavior, in fact, it decreases the way how they coordinate their movement behaviors with the teammates, because it emphasizes information related with the space, and where there is no lines, they decide where to be based on the teammates' positioning, which will lead to higher movement synchronization. So again, just to show you that different constraints will emphasize information that will affect the way how the players behave on the pitch. Another study that it was performed, it was a goalkeeper plus 10 versus 9, in which the team with 10 players had the aim to pass the ball to a target player. And in this study, we have three conditions. One where there was a restricted spacing condition, in which the players were assigned to a pitch zone from where they were not allowed to leave. We can see in that picture more or less the place where they were. So basically, the orange team has to pass the ball between the different players, aiming to achieve the target player, while the blue team to recover, pass the ball to the front and trying to score the goal. We have this first condition. We have a contiguous spacing condition in which it was allowed one player to move to a nearby zone, creating superiority, for example, and then a free spacing conditioning. This is some tasks that are usually applied during the training microcycle. And what we found is that restricting the spacing will lead, of course, to a lower physical demands, because the players only have the ball in a few moments during this task, because in the other times the ball is in other zones that will not lead the players to move or to behave or to be focused on the task, which also affects their movement synchronization. Because, for example, if the ball is in the right winger, the left fullback may not be available to play and will just see the game until the ball goes to nearby zones. The contiguous spacing allows to move one player, which increases a little bit the team synchronization. However, it also allows us to have lower values of physical demands, because we allow one player to move to a zone, to allow, for example, creates numerical superiority, and allowing a little bit of more movement by the players. Finally, the last condition, since they are available to move on the pitch, it was shown to be the condition that promotes more movement coordination. So basically, the way how we constrain, limit, or remove spatial reference will emphasize different behaviors. For example, the free spacing condition can be used to promote movement coordination. In turn, the contiguous spacing, although it have lead to lower movement synchronization, in fact, it also have lower values of physical demands. And for example, imagine during a congested fixture where the players have several matches in a short period of time, maybe coaches may decide to use the contiguous spacing condition because it promotes lower physical demands, but allow the players to maintain or at least develop some kind of movement coordination, allow to develop the team tactical behavior, which from the results and from the available literature has been showing that during congested fixtures, the players usually decrease their synchronization patterns over the time, but not the distance covered. And for example, this type of task can be used to avoid some decrease in the players' movement synchronization. So, and to end, a little summary about the main findings. From the technical perspective, the external boundaries provide important information that help the players to decide which type of actions to perform. And for example, only having the visible marks in the corners limits the player's ability to use the dribble, because since they do not know where the line is, and since the lines provides information about the players, the distance between the players and available space to the line, it decreases their chances of performing dribbles. And based on this, the pitch external reference are fundamental to help the players deciding which actions to do or not to do. From the tactical perspective, what we saw is that players need the external lines to have some movement synchronization, so to understand the limits and the boundaries where they can move. However, if we add inside reference, it will decrease their movement behavior. Also, no restrictions, as we saw in the last study, promote higher movement synchronization. However, coaches may also use the contiguous condition to use, for example, during periods of a higher number of games. And from the physical performance, what we saw is that the player's physical performance is related with their tactical positioning. If they are more spread out, have a higher team dispersion, it is likely that they increase the physical demands at high intensity. In turn, if the players are more synchronized, so they are more balanced, it increases also the demands, because to maintain the levels of synchronization, the players have to move and therefore increase the demands, but mainly at low and moderate intensities. So basically, this was to show to you what we have in our presentation, that it's mainly trying to understand how the different task constraints affects the player's movement behaviors and how that will shape the player's decision and behaviors.
Okay, Diogo, thank you very much. We have some questions already, but before we go to the questions, I just want you to show you a bit the course of Diogo. So I'm going to share my screen so you can take a look at it. So at the moment, Diogo's course is like, it's the first one here to be shown. The structure of the course is always the same. So once you buy the course, you will have instant access to it. And also you will have access to it forever, okay? You can go inside the course and review the course as many times as you want, okay? So as I said, you will have the opportunity to buy this course with a 50% discount, okay? You just have to introduce the code that I told you about in the chat, and the code is webinar Diogo, so you can get a 50% discount of this price. So as you can see, you have some overview about the course, some information about the instructor, and also some of the curriculum over here. So each item of this is a video. I'm going to show you one of them. These three first videos are open, so you can go over here without buying the course, so you can have an idea what is the course about and how is the format of the course. I will show you now one of these videos. So as I said, this video is free. You can watch it for free. All of the rest you have to buy the course so you can see the rest of the course. So just for you to have an idea, I'm going to take the sound out, just for you to have an idea how we structure the course. So you will have always the speaker talking with you, okay? In this case, Diogo is on the corner. Now he's talking about this specific subject, and the structure is always like this, okay? You don't have to write anything. You just have to take closer look what Diogo is saying, and also to take a closer look to all the information that is provided to you during this presentation, okay? So the structure of the course is always like this. You will find also some videos of the course, in the course. At the end of the course, you will find some practical information here, how to plan the small-sided games, how to plan the small-sided games during the training microcycle, so and also a practical example. Just one more detail. So if you want to go and advance to buy the course, you just have to, on the courses page, you just have to click on the button, as you will see, add to cart, okay? And finally, to get the discount, you just have to write on the coupon code window. You will find it here on the cart. Okay, you just have to introduce here the coupon code, and you will have 50% discount of the course. Okay, so I will not take any longer. I'm just going to start asking some questions that we can find here. So Philippe is asking Diogo, during small-sided games, we know that it decreases coverage area, but increase the intensity and pace. Knowing this, what days of the week should we use small-sided games, medium-sided games, or large games?
First of all, thank you for the question, Philippe. And trying to answer to it, I think that we are balancing the small-sided games according to the aim that we have as the game model of the coach. And so usually we have one day where we use shorter spaces. For example, usually it's the match day -4, where we design small-sided games involving less number of players, which will increase their technical involvement in the game. It will increase the number of accelerations and decelerations, and we are more focusing on the behaviors related with the ball zone. Then, in the match day -3, usually we use larger small-sided games involving a higher number of players, more using free spacing conditionings. And in that, we aim not only to provide a higher number of distance covered at high intensity, as well as to promote more collective patterns of behaviors. And generally, depending on the aim for the match day -2, usually we adjust to medium small-sided games. Usually it can be with less complexity by, for example, playing in numerical superiority to help players in having their decision making, because you have more space and time to decide. And regarding to the question about the constraints-led approach, I believe that as I tried to show it to you, if you change the pitch task constraints or the number of players, the coach instruction, it will emphasize always different information. And that information will afford the players to different behaviors. And so if we know how to adjust the task constraints to achieve our aim, we can better design the small-sided games.
Okay, perfect. We have here some more questions to you, Diogo. Oscar is talking from India, Mumbai, and is asking, what should be the work to rest ratio during small-sided games? Do you have an opinion about this, Diogo?
Yeah. Thank you, Oscar, for the question. I will try to give you an example. I believe that it will depend on the match day again. So you have to adjust the task according, for example, if you have a less number of players, you should provide more time to rest. For example, 1 per 3 periods. For example, the players can perform 30 seconds of a small-sided game and rest for 90 seconds. It will always depend on the available number of players, the rules, the task intensity. So it's not just, it will depend on the number of the players, the rules, how it will be the task intensity. For example, what we know you can use, for example, to develop in the match day -3 and where the aim is to provide volume and endurance to the players. Instead of performing, for example, 8 minutes, you can perform 2 periods of 4 minutes. And the results have been showing that if you perform more intermittent small-sided games, you can increase the players' physical demands even at high intensity. And so it's basically trying to adjust, providing some time that allows you to provide feedback and maintain a high intensity of the game. Regarding to the rest, it will always depending on the aim. For example, match day -4, probably you have more time to rest. In the match day -3, you decrease the time of rest because you want to develop the player's endurance. And finally, in the match day -2, usually you provide also more time to rest, but in this time because you want the players to perform high intensity actions and then to rest completely.
Okay, perfect. Another question from Alessandro Lia. Alessandro is talking from Mendicino in Italy. For youngers, what do you think to design a small-sided game, but without stopping their creativity to go to 1v1?
That's a very good question, Alessandro. In fact, some of the constraints as you saw, emphasize different behaviors from the players. And usually, one type of constraint that are usually performed in the youth level, it's constraining their number of ball contacts. And when we avoid or when we do not allow the players to perform a higher number of contacts, we are affecting their opportunities for action. With 2 touches, with 1 touches that we see always in the training sessions, we are affecting their ability to use the dribble. And we are only promoting the pass with complexity because they have a short period of time to decide. However, you can design different type of small-sided games, for example, by manipulating the number of targets, the location of the targets, to promote different one-against-one situations. And if you want to develop the player's dribble, it is important to have this cooperation and oppositioning patterns, because the players during the dribble, they look for information, for example, the feet of the opposing players, the body, how it's oriented, the space. And if you remove that information, we are developing, the player's ability to manage the ball, but not to couple the way how should he behave to go over his opponent. So you can design small-sided games and manipulating mostly the number of targets, the number of players, to increase their ability to use the dribble as a technical resource to gain space, for example.
Okay, looks like you study a lot this issue. So just waiting for some more questions. I'm not sure if you'll have more questions. Alexandro says thanking you for the answer. I see Oscar is now writing a new question. Just a few seconds more to see if we have the last question, so we can go and start preparing our Christmas Eve. Let me see if Oscar and Alessandro is also writing something. So guys, don't forget to visit the course of Diogo at Soccer Hub platform. It's completely and fully available right now. So we have something here from Oscar. In a professional team, is a small-sided game with high intensity best, or constraint-led approach better?
Oscar, thank you for the question. I believe that you can combine both things. So basically, what we want is to improve the player's behavior on the game. And by using small-sided games, you can develop their tactical, physical, and technical behavior. Because imagine, if the players are more synchronized, more coordinated, it is likely that, for example, during the moment of a ball loss, you have a player in a proper position to avoid the transition, because they are better synchronized. It's just an example. And based on that, for example, it can decrease the physical demands that they have. It's like, imagine that you are attacking in the offensive midfield zone, and you lose the ball, but you are being well synchronized, so you have defensive coverage. And when you lose the ball, you have a player that immediately will press the opposing player. So instead of going down to your defensive midfield zone, you can stay on the offensive, because you have a player that will press, and possibly it can regain the ball possession. So basically, it's all trying to develop this in an integrative way, so that allow the players to understand how they should behave. And so you can design small-sided games to improve the player's movement behavior or tactical behavior, while it also adding specific physical patterns like endurance, strength, or even speed.
Okay, perfect. Alexandro Liam, another question. I used to divide the pitch in order to let the players stay 1v1 in each zone. Is it a right solution?
Thank you again, Alexandro. I think that the way that you should do it, explore also, trying to understand how it affects, because you can have different dribbling opportunities if you release the space. I understand that by constraining the players to a specific zone, they will have 1-against-1 in that zone, and since they cannot perform in that space, they should go for the dribble. But imagine an overlap situation. It can provide you with additional opportunity to dribble. But if you are constrained in the space, probably the players may not be allowing to do this type of movement and not develop other types of situations, because you can use a movement of a player from your team to gain space and also to dribble to a different direction. And so I think that the good way is trying to balance between both situations, where you can try to restrict the players to a more specific space, but also create small-sided games where they are not that much constrained, so that they can use also the dribble, but in a different situation. For example, we saw in a study that the coach instruction can, or the task technical previous instruction can change the player's behavior. So you can, for example, emphasize that a goal after dribble can, the value of the goal can be the double, for example. And by that case, you are trying to emphasize that, okay, you can score by dribbling, which will be 2 goals, or if not, by the pass, because you are not limiting the players to use the pass. But in this case, it's only value 1. It can be one solution to try.
Okay, thank you, Diogo. One question here from Ridi. Ridi is talking from the US. Hello all. Diogo, what are your thoughts on using neutral players in small-sided games?
Again, a very good question, Ridi, and thank you for that. And I think that a good question to also answer to Alexandro's question. I mean, if you have neutral players, it is good to promoting space, for example, to promote the pass, because if you are in a numerical superiority, it will decrease the need to use the dribble as a solution, because you have always a free player where to pass. So depending on your aim, you can use it or not. For example, you can use neutral players to recover the players between the tasks. Imagine that you have a 3-against-3 situation with 3 neutral players. You can use the neutral players as a way to recover between bouts. Or, for example, create a larger task after the match. For example, in the match day +1 for a recovery session, you can use, for example, the players that perform above 60 minutes of the match as neutral players, while the other players that did not perform that amount of time act as inside players. And so you can adjust this type of task according to the aims from the physical perspective, or even if you want to promote, for example, positional play and promote mainly the pass. Okay.
One last question here from, well, I cannot pronounce your name, I'm sorry. From Torrance, United States. What dimensions of the pitch do you recommend for a V6 small-sided game?
Again, thank you for the question. This is again a question too much open, because it will depend of the quality of the players. I start the webinar trying to say you that players decide based on the information, and this information is related with distance, with the speed, and the way how the players interact with the environment to decide. And also what we know is that different level of players, for example, expert players compared to more amateur players, what we also have in our course, look to the environment and look for the information in a different way. So basically, the more expert players look to less spaces but capture more information, while more amateur players seems to look to more spaces, which does not allow them to collect the same amount of information or the relevant information from the environment. And so what could be a good space for a 6-against-6 in one level might not be the appropriate space for other group. In addition, depending on the microcycle day, where you want to promote, for example, more acceleration and deceleration, you should use one type of pitch size. In turn, if you want to promote more distance covered at high intensity, you should promote a higher pitch size. So it will depend not only on the player's level, on your aim. If you want to promote pass and the players have lower passing quality, maybe you should use a higher space. If they have good quality, you can decrease the space. So basically, it's all of this interaction that will shape how you should decide which space to use or not.
Okay, Diogo, thank you very much. Thank you very much also for our audience and for the great questions. I believe that we could be here talking for many hours. But once again, thank you, Diogo, for your time. Thank you for everyone that's a bit all over the world was in this live webinar. I hope that it will be useful for you. Of course, you can find more information at Diogo's online course, Designing Small-Sided Games for Soccer. Diogo, thank you once again. Best of luck to Chaves. And thank you for your time, okay, Diogo?
Thank you so much. So much. Good Christmas to everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye. Bye, guys.
Bye.